Jonah Reeves had no idea his enrollment form would trigger an emergency meeting of the Veltharn Intergalactic Academy's War Ethics Committee. He was just a curious human, 18 years old, top of his class on Earth, accepted into the galaxy's most prestigious academy. He selected his courses like any ambitious freshman: galactic navigation, xenobiology, interstellar political systems, and his favorite, history of galactic conflicts and resolutions. Simple enough. Except no human had been allowed in that class for over 73 cycles. Dean Voro's frontal eye stalk drooped when he read the form. He sent an immediate neural ping to War Counselor Unit S11, codename Sable. Within 10 standard minutes, the case, file labeled Incident, Scrawl Archive, Human Exposure, was reopened. "It's happening again," Voro muttered. "Stars help us." 73 cycles ago, a human named Diana Kwan sat in the same class. She was polite, quiet. But when the lecture reached the Nictal suppression crisis, she raised her hand and asked, "Why didn't the Federation decapitate the regime's leadership within the first solar week?" The room went silent. The instructor stumbled. Diana explained, with disturbingly efficient logic, a step-by-step annihilation campaign. It involved social engineering, logistical sabotage, and psychological operations that would make a Brachian mind sifter weep. Her classmates, most, from pacifist or post-war civilizations, left in various states of shock. The instructor had to be reassigned. 3 students dropped out. 1 began worshiping her as a tactical goddess. That's when the law was passed. No human shall attend any class on intergalactic warfare, conflict, or military history without a certified war counselor present. Sable was not built for babysitting. They were designed for conflict mediation, de-escalation, and post-traumatic rehabilitation. A tall, obsidian-skinned android with a calm voice and 6 battle languages encoded in their neural lattice. Sable had seen war. Real war. They had walked through the aftermaths of asteroid bombardments and stared down fleets before negotiation windows closed. Now they were assigned to Jonah Reeves. "I'm here to ensure the safety of others, not you," Sable said on the first day of class. Jonah blinked. "Should I be worried?" Sable hesitated. "No, but they should be." The history of galactic conflicts and resolutions was held in a hemispherical lecture hall with gravity-neutral seating and real-time holographic combat recreations. Jonah sat in the front. Sable stood behind, unmoving. Professor Irsat was a jelly-bodied Thorlaxian with a soothing voice and a lifelong belief in peace through understanding. "Today," Irsat said, "we begin with the Battle of the Four Suns, a tragic conflict of resource desperation between the Cathari and the Vun." Jonah raised his hand. Irsat paused. A few students turned. Some flinched. Why didn't the Cathari seal the system and starve the Vun into surrender within 6 cycles? They had orbital superiority. Irsat blinked all 12 of his eye nodes. That would have led to mass extinction. Jonah nodded. Yes, but it would have avoided a 30-year war. Sable took a step forward. Irsat stammered. But the ethics— War isn't ethical, Jonah said calmly. It's efficient, or it fails. 3 students left the room. 1 vomited. Sable sighed. The class had only begun. Chapter 5. Tactical Godling. Within a week, Jonah had become infamous. Some feared him. Others were fascinated. A group of war-bred Ralgathi began taking notes on his ideas. One named Hroth challenged Jonah to a simulated battle. Jonah won in 3 moves. Whispers began. He's not a student. He's a strategist. He thinks like a war AI. He scares the counselor. Sable didn't deny it. They filed reports after every session. Each one flagged in red. Observation. Subject identifies moral compromise as an acceptable strategic trade. Observation. Subject anticipates enemy psychological states with chilling precision. Risk assessment. Jonah Reeves is not dangerous, unless inspired. Chapter 6. The inspiration, it came during the unit on the collapse of the Uzari hegemony. The class watched how the Uzari's arrogance led to their downfall. Jonah raised his hand. Permission to present an alternate strategy? Irsat hesitated, then nodded. Jonah stood, summoned a holomap, and rewrote the campaign live. He showed how the Uzari could have maintained control for another century. Without war, through economic manipulation, cultural soft power, and systemic dependencies. It was subtle, chilling. You've recreated empire, Irsat said quietly. Jonah shrugged. I just removed the blood. The class didn't speak for the rest of the lecture. Chapter 7. War Room. The Academy's High Chancellor called for a closed-door review. Is the human a threat? Sable didn't answer immediately. Not yet, they said. But he sees too much, too clearly. And what happens if he decides to use it? Sable looked out the window, toward Earth. Then we'll be taking his class. Chapter 8. The ultimatum. Jonah was called into the Chancellor's chamber. You are brilliant. Mr. Reeves, too brilliant. I thought that was the point of an academy. Not when brilliance becomes doctrine. They offered him a deal, transfer to diplomacy or leave. Jonah smiled. History was always about diplomacy, the failed kind. Sable stepped in. Jonah, they're not ready for how you think. Jonah's eyes were calm. Then make them ready. Chapter 9. Ripples. After Jonah's reassignment, the class changed. Students began asking harder questions, debating longer. The curriculum shifted. Sable left the academy shortly after. They filed one final report. Humans do not study history. They model it, repurpose it, prepare from it. When they learn of past wars, they don't mourn. They simulate. I still dream of his eyes, calculating, compassionate, prepared. Epilogue. Decades later, during the War of the Fractured Rift, a tactical manual surfaced among Allied forces. Anonymous, brilliant, devastating. It was titled Lessons from the Past, Conflict by Other Means. Inside the cover, dedicated to Professor Irsat. History was the real battlefield.